I only recently found out that ghosts exist. I knew I'd give it a go because Lala Defope is phenomenal in everything she's in. I wasn't sure I'd stay for 5 seasons. It looked like it was going to be a silly show, leaning into stereotypes and theatricals, which it was. And those turned out to be really good things. The stereotypes actually supported dimension and nuance. The silliness was the background, against which honest observations
I'm a ghost
stood simple and clear. And the show was theatrical in a way that good plays are. It softened my feelings around life and death, around grief, which to me was more than timely, and changed how I related to them. Ghosts impressed me, and stayed with me, and made me want to talk about why this show is such a good thing. Here's how it begins. Mike and Alison Cooper are struggling to find an affordable place to live.
Nice view of the street.
The audience stand-ins we deserve when they suddenly inherit Button House. Unbeknownst to everyone, there is a bunch of ghosts stuck on the land in their afterlives. Comfortably stuck too. Appalled at the couple's plan to renovate the house into a hotel, they decide to do the haunting. But this is not your typical haunted house story. By the end of episode 1, Alison alone begins to see the ghosts. They switch to the guerrilla war.
Gorilla always win.
But this won't be Neighbors from Hell story either. By the end of episode 2,
Renounce Satan, witch!
they establish contact.
Okay. Yeah, that's probably done it.
The story then becomes about people, dead and alive, living side by side, and eventually together. Here is a quick rundown of the dead. Robin the caveman, Thomas the poet,
He's ahead of his time. Oh, he can't still be ahead of his time.
that's Kitty, and Fanny, Pat the scout leader, and the captain, the World War II one, Julian the Tory MP,
Morally bankrupt.
Mary,
There's a person whose blanket is also a person.
and Humphrey, the headless one.
Well, I'm sorry I'm such a cliche.
And there is a plague pit in the basement.
You mean there's 2 of them?
To me, the defining feature of how these ghosts are written is their constant oscillation between stereotypes and dimension. The stereotypes, for one thing, make it easier for us to inhabit each ghost's perspective, which makes sense for such an ensemble cast. These exaggerations also root ghosts in their past, and are often moving.
What are you drinking?
Pint of bitter.
At the same time, their personalities keep unfolding as we go. While it might not be unexpected that uptight Fanny is also bawdy, it is surprising to learn that as a young woman she had a knack for numbers in business, not rules. I'll say more about these complexities later. What we get with ghosts, then, is this unlikely company, stuck with each other, who suddenly got to interact with 2 living people.
Cause it's just the 2 of us.
Their togetherness is what feels like the main character of the show. This is what grows and develops, and leads to a gradual,
Thanks, Julian.
and sometimes reluctant acknowledgement that no one's stuck with anyone.
Are you not sick of the sight of each other?
They're choosing it.
Friends.
This togetherness is also tied to the making of the show. It was written by the collective Them There, that's 6 of our ghosts, who also created the sketch show Horrible Histories. Ghosts is different, but it also merges the comedy with fundamental themes. The parties and the pranks don't hint at deeper stories about family ties or being without a home, nor are they an obstacle to questioning how history gets written,
and perhaps the most important person ever to have walked these grounds.
Is it me?
or how to uncover the truth about past events when their witnesses all have different stories to tell.
Wait, did you just see shoes?
Pretty much, yeah.
And everything exists within one frame here, just like in real life. This is the basic layout of what Ghosts is. One of the things Ghosts does, by blurring the line between life and death, is make the concept of time richer and more pliable in 3 major ways. First of all, time in Ghosts doesn't come off as strictly linear and hierarchical. The show brings together characters from different eras But no perspective is superior just because it's closer to our times. Don't get me wrong, there are plenty of moments when modern takes are most sensible, like when Allison proves that sharing can be therapeutic, or scolds Pat and Robin for their views on courtship.
What's her full name?
But when Fanny's up in arms against same-sex marriage, it's Humphrey who changes her views.
Might have been nice if we could have chosen who we married.
It's Kitty who teaches the captain the value of leisure.
Why would you want to kill time?
Robin, whose afterlife has lasted the longest, is the one who points out that all borders are made up, and many things about the cosmos.
It is International Space Station.
Their perspectives enrich and complete one another, or simply clash in silly and chaotic ways.
You taught me the mashed potato, the chicken dance, and the banana split.
That's a balanced meal. Delicious.
And as part of the ghosts' everyday lives, they feel natural, not didactic. Another thing Ghosts does with time is stretch and expand it, together with the ghosts' personalities. As we go through life, I don't think we change as much as simply reveal more of what's already within us, whether from birth or picked up. But human lives are finite, and so is the number of contexts we'll ever experience. Much of who we are, who we could have been, might never fully show.
It's not even the right way up.
What?
What are you trying to pull here?
Ghosts plays with this idea by stretching the time its characters have to open up. I say stretches time, not gives it, deliberately. They can't fully participate in life, but they can approach experiences differently, like Julian, who finds a redemption of sorts for ignoring his baby daughter when he was alive, or do what wasn't possible in their lifetimes, like Mary, who finds her voice.
I'm sure she'd rather gouge her own eyes out.
Or that she could have been a talented filmmaker. Like I've said, it's not all that serious.
Yeah, I just think it's a shame we're not just pushing in for that moment there just to capture the emotion.
As I wrote this, I thought back to Rilke, who believed that the future enters us long before we can express it. He wrote, "The future stands firm, but we move in infinite space."
I travelled miles and was unchanged when I could have been here and transported.
There is an infinite number of situations through which we might unfold differently, but our time is limited.
Oh, it is only too hard because you still think like a living.
And our times are a given.
All our lives, kept silent, kept in our place.
Ghosts expands both limitations and makes the idea of the incidental and incomplete nature of our lives more tangible.
It's all part of it.
The third twist Ghosts does with time is the exact opposite. It compresses it, especially around emotion. From what I know of grief and mourning, which is not that much, but also not that little, there are moments when emotions coexist in their extremes. Loss and appreciation become one breath apart, and so do painful reality and joyful memories, the emptiness and the presence of love. When death comes near, it shrinks the time it takes us to move between our feelings. Ghosts reflects this, though in a gentler way. The show often switches from its brilliant comedy to scenes that make you choke,
I've seen this happen so much.
only to have you laughing again a second later. These moments don't feel forced or disrespectful either.
To old friends.
Old friend.
God, I miss booze.
Just truthful. This truthfulness is, perhaps, the best reminder that a show about ghosts is ultimately about death, and that death can make us perceive time and emotion as more pliable. To me, these ideas around life, death, and time were not a thinking exercise. Rather, I have felt my way to them, because I watched ghosts when a span of grief in my life was coming to a close. It was a long span too, with personal losses in the midst of collective grief and mourning. I was trying to cope by latching onto safety and certainty, onto definitions and control.
Doesn't make sense, does it?
And when I felt ready to step out of those, it was easier said than lived. That was when I decided to give ghosts a go. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of saying art's a medicine.
I missed a lot of people,
It's way more complex.
but more come along.
But I believe it can give vitality to our impulses. Ghosts did that for me. It made me curious about looking ahead for things that weren't stiff or determined, about noticing moments when time would bend and bring the disparate together, when time would stretch and make room for unexpected circumstances,
I feel like we're going to be stuck here forever.
which help us learn that people cannot be defined or their behavior predicted, not even by themselves, not all the time, not fully.
Welcome home.
Yeah.
Yes.
Welcome back. Yeah.
And when time would compress diametrically opposed emotions together, and do it naturally, with no need for justifications or solutions. By blurring the line between life and death, ghosts made life feel less rigid, and by making me laugh through it, it helped me feel the excitement for the unknown. Do you remember how I said ghost is theatrical? This is what I meant. It left me with the lasting feeling of ease and lightness, like the one you have coming out of a good play, and it didn't disappear the next morning. And ghosts is silly, but it's when you see depth side by side with the everyday and the comedic that you know it is truthful.
Stuff that absurd only ever happens in real life.